public opinion and the legacy that they left behind. Franklin D. Roosevelt and Dwight D. Eisenhower. Now these presidents were some of the best, but Dwight D. Eisenhower had an edge over FDR because of his accomplishments during World War II as a military commander and Operation Overlord. And they both had great economical plans for America during that time, but Franklin D. Roosevelt's domestic policies, such as putting 110,000 Japanese Americans in concentration camps, led to his downfall in this matchup, which gave Dwight D. Eisenhower the final edge over Thomas Jefferson and Theodore Roosevelt. Now, it's really hard to go up against the great founding father like Thomas Jefferson, but Theodore Roosevelt really gave him a run for his money. Theodore was known for a conservationist, and Thomas Jefferson was known for a man with a great legal mind. He helped write some of our founding documents that led to our nation's growth. He wrote laws that we still use today. Theodore Roosevelt created national parks and also built the Panama Canal, and he built up the Navy for America into one of the largest navies the world has ever seen. But in the end, Thomas Jefferson's role in creating our government and living to our nation as a whole will give him the victory over John Adams and John F. Kennedy. John Adams was also another founding father, and he helped write the Declaration of Independence. And, he also did things like he avoided war with France, and he also contributed to our nation's birth and growth after George Washington. Some of his controversies was he was a Federalist who opposed the Democrat-Republicans, who eventually became the Republicans and built our Constitution as a whole. And he was actually opposed to that, but his legacy, he secured national interest and achieved honorable peace with other nations, which really helped us grow more as a country and not being taken out by another larger country. John F. Kennedy, he was the youngest U.S. president to ever be elected into office. He ended the recession, and he stopped the Cold War from escalating any more than it already had at that time. Some of his downfalls was the Bay of Pigs, which is a big mistake for America and costs us the lives of several hundred. But other than that, he started the U.S. Peace Corps, which helped other nations grow with American influence, and he revolutionized American politics, and his influence in space exploration will definitely give him the greater hand over John Adams, and his influence during his presidency, his effectiveness at Woodrow Wilson and Harry S. Truman. Now, Woodrow Wilson was a very intellectual man who he did things like he helped in World War I, and he passed economic laws such as the FRA Act that gave national banks more money and gave us credit and a money supply that we still use today. He created the League of Nations, which also was very influential to the foreign world and led to the United Nations. Harry S. Truman, on the other hand, he approved of the atomic bombing over Japan, which ended World War II. knew it was hardworking and honest, and other things such as his leadership during FDR's death and establishment of international relations after World War II made his presidency successful. He started the involvement with NATO, and he made a commitment with Israel that we still have today, which is very important to many Americans. But Woodrow Wilson was supposed to be the better president because of his foreign policies and domestic policies. George Washington and Dwight D. Eisenhower. Now, George Washington has a great advantage of being our first president. He led America through our beginning stages and left a strong legacy with the American people. George led the American rebels against the largest army that the world knew at that time. And he was so honorable and had such a great character that he would stay and fight for the war. He even paid soldiers out of his own pocket, which I think is really kind of a very honorable trait to have. Dwight D. Eisenhower, he was a war hero just like him, and but if it wasn't for George Washington and his great, strong leadership at that time, America might not have even gotten started. So George Washington will come out as the better president for this man. We have Abraham Lincoln and Woodrow Wilson. Abraham Lincoln was known for the man who kept the Union together, and essentially he did, because he made a vow after the South had seceded that he would bring them back together. And he was such a great legal philosopher and such a great persuader that he persuaded the American people that what the South had done was treason, and rallied them to fight in the South to rethink what they had done. Even when the war didn't end like they thought it would, Abraham stuck with the American people and fought to the end. His foreign policy was not much that many people know about, but if it wasn't for his foreign policy and keeping out Great Britain and France out of the Civil War, then the Confederate Army could have won and left American people into. Lincoln saved the Union and kept our country strong, and forgave the Southerners even though what they did was totally wrong, and he didn't punish them for what they did. On the other hand, Woodrow Wilson, he was a great president just like Abraham Lincoln, and he worked hard in what he did. But again, like George Washington, you have to look at really what was the outcome of everything. And if it wasn't for Abraham Lincoln, then our country could be in two right now. Therefore, he would be the two founding fathers, head-to-head, George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. First of all, it's important to point out that both these men signed the Declaration of Independence and both helped write it. But really, if it wasn't for George Washington and his military leadership and his leadership during the country, then Thomas Jefferson might not have even gotten a chance to become president. And George Washington rallied the American people to fight as one, and his leadership at that time gave people the hope that they needed to carry on. And also his foreign policies as president were much like Thomas Jefferson's, but his domestic policies were really what gave him the that we have Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy. First of all, it's kind of interesting to point out that these presidents are 100 years apart and both were assassinated. Also, both these presidents had major pressure under them during their presidency. JFK had the pressure of nuclear warfare, while Abraham Lincoln had the pressure of losing half of the American people. While Abraham Lincoln was faced with the Civil War, he kept strong in his leadership qualities. That's really what made him the better president over the final championship matchup. We have number 1 seed George Washington and number 2 seed Abraham Lincoln. First of all, I'd like to point out that if it wasn't for these two men, then America might not be where we are today. In fact, we might not even be in existence, or half of what we are. George Washington was the leader of rebel forces that fought our freedom from England, and Abraham Lincoln was the leader who brought America back together. But who was the better president? After looking at their personal accomplishments, domestic policy successes, foreign policy successes, the public opinion of them at that time, controversies they may have had, and the legacy that they left behind, it's easy to see that Abraham Lincoln has a character of leadership that is incomparable to any other man who has taken a position as President of the United States. In fact, after all, he did unite this. For our winner of our tournament of presidents, we have Abraham